Hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Oxnard Police Department live Q&A. We're coming straight to you this evening from downtown Oxnard. My name is Paul Carganella. I'm the Community Affairs Manager for the Oxnard Police Department, and we started doing these virtually when the coronavirus started early in 2020 as a way for us to connect with the community safely and virtually and get to know some of our officers and have a chance to ask any questions that might come up throughout your day, throughout your week. And we're live with you here on Facebook until 6 p.m. this evening. So if you are watching it after 6 p.m., I'm saying we are live, but we were live. We're not anymore. But if you are here with us live streaming and you have any questions for our guests this evening, please go ahead and jump into the comment thread, and I'll be monitoring that throughout our chat this evening, and we'll answer as many questions as we are able to as time permits. But first, we're going to get to know our guest a little bit. And ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to you a senior officer with our traffic unit, a senior officer, Joe Diaz. If he is there, please welcome Joe. There he is.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Hey, Paul.
Hi. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I know it was kind of a last minute thing. So you were voluntold yesterday that you'd be joining me today because we do want to talk a lot about traffic this evening, especially with school kids getting back to school and the drop-offs and the crosswalks and the crossing guards. We want to chat about some of that stuff. But I know a lot of people, as I moderate the social media for the police department, a lot of people have questions and concerns about traffic. So we'd love to have the traffic unit on. And thank you again for carving out some time to join us this evening.
Hey, I'm happy to be here.
Great. Well, Joe, we start these Q&As the same way every time. We like to peel it all the way back to the beginning, and we want to get to know you from how your story began. So Senior Officer Joe Diaz was born and raised
here in Oxnard.
Right here in town.
Yeah.
What area?
I actually moved around a lot when I was a kid. So I lived in the north end, lived in the south end, lived on the west side, went to school on the east side. So I kind of got my taste of all parts of the city.
And you went to schools here in town?
Yeah. Tierra Vista down in the south end. I went to, it used to be called Juanita, it's now called Cesar Chavez in Colonia. Sierra Linda. I graduated from Oxnard High School. So I spent a little time at a lot of different schools.
And growing up, did you want to be a police officer from an early age, or how or when did that fire get lit inside you?
Yeah, that kind of developed after high school. I knew I wanted to go to college. Didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I fell into this criminal justice class. It was called criminal procedure, and I remember the instructor, his name was Richard Goff, and he was a 25, 30-year veteran officer back on the East Coast, and very animated when he spoke and very intelligent what he did, and he really sparked my interest in criminal justice. So I pursued that route. I went the criminal justice route. I enjoyed studying it. I transferred to San Diego State University, got my undergrad there in criminal justice administration. I also caught the travel bug there, so I wanted to travel and study at the same time, and I actually lived in Australia for 2 years, where I got my master's in criminology. And it was after that I really decided that I needed to kind of sit down and start working because I had a lot of school loans to pay for at the time.
Who didn't and doesn't and all of the above. So were you holding any jobs through college? I mean, it's interesting, to talk to people who start working other jobs and then decide, maybe I'll go into law enforcement. But as someone who knew what you wanted to do pretty early on and were studying criminal justice, did you hold any other jobs along the way, or was it just kind of like you were tunnel vision straight to your law enforcement career?
No, so my other jobs that really helped out was in the service industry. I worked at numerous restaurants. It actually was very flexible with my school, and I could pick my hours, and it paid, just about right. On top of that, I had internships that really worked out for me. I was actually an intern for the alternate public defender down in San Diego. I learned a lot, got a very great appreciation of, obviously public defenders and that side of the realm and what they do. I was actually awarded the Volunteer of the Year for San Diego for my work with them, and it really kind of just enlightened me that There's so much more than just, law enforcement. There's also the court side of it. And I even kind of like delved into like, hey, maybe I could be an attorney. I went that route. Actually, went to law school originally, and I wasn't a big fan of what I was studying. So definitely, I'm happy I chose law enforcement because of the excitement that I'm experiencing right now.
And I'm sure you spend plenty of time in the courts still.
I do, yeah, I do. Testifying, yes, absolutely.
All right. So when you were ready to start applying, was Oxnard the first place you applied, or were there other departments in the running?
No, Oxnard was the first place. I didn't get it the first time. I actually got it the second time. I applied other places, but definitely when Oxnard came back up, this is my spot. This is where my family's at, and I wanted to be here because I knew like the differences that I can make here not only affect the community, but it definitely makes it better for my family as well.
Yeah, that's great. And we're so happy and lucky to have you. What year was it that you started the academy?
2010. So we were class 2010-2. We started, I think, in October of that year.
All right. Well, we are going to be answering questions. I see a question popping up. We usually address the questions in the last 15 or 10 minutes. So in just about 10 minutes or so, we'll get started on those. To answer your question, Sylvia Ortiz, who asks, when do you start answering these questions? And if you are asking questions here in the live chat, if you haven't yet, but you want to, we will answer as many of them as we can while we have time here this evening. But Joe, did you have any other assignments before you joined the traffic unit?
Yeah, just a couple years after patrol, I actually was an Explorer advisor. That was actually one of my best assignments because we got to work a lot with the youth. Some of those explorers that I had back then are actually officers now. So it's pretty exciting to kind of see them develop, becoming part of the department. After that, I became a field training officer. I did that for a couple years, and again, being able to influence the newer officers and how they interact with the community and make things better around the city, that was very gratifying. Um, After field training, becoming an FTO, I got into motors. I was actually not really tricked, but at the time I had another coworker that was a motor officer, and he basically said how fun it was and how easy it was. I learned to find out that riding a motorcycle is pretty difficult. Um, he said it was like riding a bike, and well, little did he know that I'm not the best at riding a bike either. So it was a kind of steep learning curve on that. But I was lucky enough to stay within the traffic unit, stay as a motorcycle officer, and then I was lucky enough to get promoted, and I was able to become the senior traffic coordinator for our traffic unit.
And so what does a senior traffic coordinator do?
So we have numerous grants that we've been awarded by the Office of Traffic Safety, and I manage those grants. I'm kind of I would say, the direct supervisor to about 10 motor officers. Above me is the sergeant, but I try to help out my sergeant as much as possible. So if there's something that I can do, take initiative that I can do to get the unit running, then I'll do that. But basically, I just want to make sure that all the grant money is properly funded, that we're utilizing the grant money to increase the safety of the community.
And I'll address, or I'll at least ask this question that I have right now, and I know the answer, but I am often asked it as I spend a lot of time on social media for the department. But people always ask, if you're going to have a DUI checkpoint, what's the point of telling the city that you're going to have it?
Yes, so that's a question I field all the time as well. But part of the checkpoint is deterrence. So we want the community to know that we're hosting these events, and we want people to know that we're going to be out there looking for DUI drivers. Because ultimately, if everybody went out and had a sober driver home, and there's no DUI drivers, that's a success for us. That's exactly what we want. So just by us portraying like, hey, we're going to be looking out, please don't make the mistake. It's a win for us, and that's why we get that information out.
Yeah. Something I found interesting that one of the traffic unit officers said to me once was, you know what a successful DUI checkpoint is? How many arrests we have? 0. Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right. Well, as I mentioned at the very start of the Q&A this evening, we are back in school. Kids are back in school, and traffic safety around schools is always something big every year that we have to address and remind parents or anyone traveling through school areas of the dangers and how to keep our kids safe. As far as general school traffic safety, drop-offs, school buses, what is the main thing you would tell people at this time of year?
Give yourself time. That's what it comes down to. So one of the biggest issues that we find in a lot of the violations that we observe, typically, like I'll go out and I stop a car and it's like, hey, why did you do that? And typically the answer is, I'm running late, or my son or daughter is going to be late to school, or I have to get there. Um, it's a lot easier to say than do. I have three children, and trying to get everyone up and running in the morning to get going to school, it's absolutely difficult. I completely understand that. But definitely making those little small adjustments to give more time in the morning so that we're not rushing to school. We're not, failing to stop at stop signs or dropping the kids off in the middle of the street so they can run across the school. Definitely, if that were one suggestion I would give, it would be that. Just give yourself more time to get there.
Right. Always good advice. Um, we wanted to focus on crosswalks and crossing guards tonight because I know you guys did a couple of days ago on Tuesday morning. You did a really focused operation on crosswalks and crossing guards in the school areas, and we've got some drone footage from the operation you guys did Tuesday morning. The traffic unit went out and really focused on 3 different school campuses and the intersections around it, and ended up writing one school morning at 3 campuses, 27 citations for crosswalk violations. In a basic nutshell with a pretty bow on it, what are the rules regarding crosswalk traffic safety?
So at the specific crosswalks, and what the video is going to show is you're going to have some personnel that's not going to be employed, or not a student. So a cross guard. That cross guard is going to have a vest on. They're going to be donning a vest, and typically they're going to have large stop sign cross the children safely. So what they'll do is they'll go out into the street with their stop sign up, and you clearly can see that they're a crossing guard, and their role is to stop the cars to allow the children to cross. Now, typically, what would happen is they go out, they'll control all the traffic, all the cars will come to the stop, and then they'll allow the children to cross. Um, Now, the rule basically is as you're driving, you're supposed to stop for the crossing guard. And they have a clear stop sign above, and it's pretty clear that they want you to stop. Um, I know there's a lot of confusion with what do you do after the kids cross. There's just a crossing guard out there, and now the crossing guard maybe is walking back to the sidewalk. Well, many people get confused that you're actually supposed to wait for that crossing guard to get all the way back to the curb. In the vehicle code, it says that they have to return to a place of safety, and there's specific reasons behind that. Obviously, we're dealing with kids, different ages, and we don't want the opportunity for the crossing guard to be walking back, and let's say the kid, I don't know, said, "Oh, I forgot something at home," so now he comes jumping back across the street, and cars are going. We don't want that to happen. So the rule is when you see the crossing guard out there with the stop sign, and if they're blocking traffic, you have to wait for them to cross all the kids and return back to the sidewalk before you can proceed.
All right. Well, I've got a few videos here, and we want to illustrate exactly what we're talking about. These were just taken Tuesday morning at this operation I just talked about. And I've got 4 videos lined up, 2 contain violations and 2 show all of the drivers be driving well. And I've got the family feud for the goods, for the bads. So let's start with the first one, and feel free you can still comment over it while it's playing if you see anything you want to point out to our viewers. Here's our first video. And there's no sound here. These are drone videos.
Yeah, just to give the viewers an idea, so this crossing right here is at Justin and Bard. Where those kids are going is actually Blackstock Elementary. And you'll notice a crossing guard right there. So they're wearing a reflective vest. They got the stop sign up in the air, and their job is to block all those cars from proceeding where those children are crossing.
And we'll see if all of the cars or the vehicles remain outside the crosswalks, do not cross through until the crossing guard, not just the children, are out of the roadway.
Yeah. And we definitely rely on the crossing guards a lot. I have a
There
great
it is.
appreciation for what they do. There you go.
All of the drivers heeding the rules of the road there in that video. Let's take a look at this next one.
And this is the intersection Savers and Dolly. And for the viewers that are familiar with this intersection, it's actually a problematic intersection that we have with crossing guards. That's a Savers Road that's that the majority of those cars are coming from.
Take a look at the top of the screen here. That driver didn't even stop. And you can see the cross guard out there, who I think is Traffic Sergeant Rick Vasquez, if I'm not
Yeah,
incorrect.
go chase them.
We'll watch that one again, because what I noticed too is that due to how the shadows are, this driver is driving straight into the sun. He's got the windshield glare, doesn't even stop when the kids are even just about to step into the street there.
Yeah.
Which brings up another thing I did want to ask you about. What can we do about that morning glare? What do you tell people?
Yeah, it's difficult. I get it sometimes, depending on the season, just coming into work. But that's what your visor's there for. I believe even the driver handbook talks about, like, if you get a glare from the sun, and you can't block all the glare from the visor, slow down. Don't be going so fast. If you cannot see where you're going, you have to slow down. That's my best advice to give you.
And couldn't ask for better advice on that. Here is our third of 4. Let's see how the drivers do.
Yeah, and this is the same intersection right there on Dolly.
Crossing guard still in the middle of the road there, and
Yeah,
both those cars
penalized.
started right through. And is it when you enter the intersection or when you cross the crosswalk?
Yeah, so we don't want you crossing the crosswalk. But again, we don't want you moving on up. Like, let's say that white car that's on the bottom. We don't want you like setting up right next to the crosswalk. Like, oh man, right when that crossing guard touches that curb, I'm out.
Yeah, because even as he enters the crosswalk there, the cross guard is still in lanes.
Yep. And that's a violation. And again, it goes back to that safety rule where if you have a crossing guard that's returning and you just had that kid that just crossed, right? Um, we don't want that kid to dart back because the crossing guard's still in the roadway. So we're just obviously trying to protect the community and trying to protect the children.
And we've got one last one to share here. That looks like the same intersection there.
Yeah, just a different angle. And that's one of the busiest intersections that we have. We have a lot of kids that cross there. We have 2 schools. One is just to the right of that, and that Blackstock is just north of it. So a lot of kids utilize that crosswalk.
Take a look at that white car on the side. Ooh, he starts to go. Thinks better of it.
Yeah.
Well done. We got a question that just popped up from Julie. She asks, do these does this like crossing rules apply for regular pedestrians or only when the guard is there?
So with regular pedestrians, if the guard's not out there crossing them, yeah, you still have to yield to pedestrians. There's a different violation that we would use. So basically, if you're in a car and you got a pedestrian crossing And if you, let's say, accelerate and now the pedestrian has to like jump out of the way, that's a violation. It's just under a different code. The crossing guard, that's specific for when crossing children or associated with the school. And they're obviously with the stop sign, with the full vest. So different little characteristics, but you still have to yield to whoever's in that crosswalk.
And one thing I learned, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit I didn't know it. Maybe I learned it at one point in my life and it left my memory. But whenever you see a yellow crosswalk, that means there is a school nearby.
Yep.
Because normally they're white
Hmm.
everywhere else in the road. But if it's yellow, that means there is a school nearby. So if you're like me and you learned that at some point in your life and then you forgot it, there's a little reminder. You can thank my forgetfulness for that. All right, let's grab some questions in our last 10 minutes here of the Q&A. I'll just start from the very beginning. This isn't a traffic related question, but as we heard earlier, you obviously worked patrol before in your career. But what are the quiet hours in the city of Oxnard? When I worked in dispatch, I would get this question all the time, and I will let you answer that.
The quiet hours. Well, I would imagine that's the time when the majority of people are asleep. Uh,
I didn't read his whole question, but what he's referring to is when are you supposed to turn your loud music off? What time?
oh, well, that's so there's kind of like a theory going around that 9 or 10 o'clock um, is kind of like the hour that everything needs to shut off. And that's not really true. So when we talk about like loud music parties or when does the band have to cancel out? If someone actually complains that the music or the noise is too loud, that can happen at any hour of the day. The officer, if we do get called out, it's actually our responsibility to kind of determine where that sound's coming from, and more importantly, like what avenue to take, because we just don't want to get called back. Whoever's calling, we don't want them to continue to be disturbed. So there really is no quiet hour. It just kind of depends on the circumstances, and it could be a call for service at any hour of the day.
Disturbing peace at any hour.
It could.
And
Yeah.
yeah. It's a very general question from Alice, but perhaps you understand what she's referring to as a senior traffic officer. But what's going on with the traffic on Rice? It's a speed trap and death trap.
Well, if she's referring to the construction that's going on right there by Procter and Gamble, that's a heavy constructed area, and they're doing a lot of changes in the roadway to accommodate some of the increased amount of traffic there. I actually just got a complaint, I believe yesterday. If you're going towards Gonzales Road from, let's say, like Sturgis or Fifth Street, there's actually two lanes, and it turns into one lane right there by Procter and Gamble. A lot of cars are failing to see that those two lanes change into one, and it's actually a dedicated right lane. And what they'll do is they'll pass by all the cars that are stopped to try to merge in to continue going straight. So that's on my list of things to look out. Obviously, speed is always an issue. I have participated with numerous officers to do speed enforcement on that area. So, um, in regards to that being at least you said a death trap, we definitely do want to reduce the amounts of vehicles traveling at high rate of speed on that avenue.
All right. Next one I see here is from Amy. What can we do in my area? People park in red parking spots every day.
So, if it's during the daytime hours, we actually have traffic service assistants that help us out tremendously with doing the parking enforcement. You could call the non-emergency line, let them know where those cars are parked, and we'll send one of the traffic service assistants out to actually give those vehicle citations. If at night, if you see that, unfortunately, those traffic service assistants don't work at night, but you can still call the non-emergency number, and they'll just have to dispatch an officer when available.
Thank you. Cynthia asks if I have security video, I'm assuming, at 2:30 in the morning, someone littering and disturbing in front of my house. You can't see the license plate. Is there anything you can do?
Well, I would see if that's like a constant problem. If that was like a one-time thing, feel free to send it to us. We could follow up on the license plate, see if there's anything attached to that. But definitely, if this is kind of, and we all know there's different spots around the city where people like to loiter, typically around parks where they can't be seen. But if this is kind of a common occurrence, please give us the information. And our department has our neighborhood policing team, and they do a fantastic job of responding to complaints like this. And they'll follow up with that and then try to get an officer out there to prevent that from happening.
And I'll show you at the end of the Q&A here how to find out who your neighborhood policing team officer is if you stay tuned, if you're curious as to who is your beat officer. Sal asks, Ventura Road and Gonzales, speeding all times of day, especially coming on south on Ventura Road at Gonzales, where it opens up to 3 lanes. The race is on. Can we get more regular motor units there?
Yes, Ventura Road is our hotspot. I do speed enforcement right there, Ventura Road and 2nd Street. And again, it comes back to those early morning hours. When school came back in session, traffic just doubled. And again, going back to people trying to rush, trying to get to a place because they're already running late, increasing their speed. Ventura Road cuts right through the city. It takes you all the way down to Port Royal. So that's one of the main avenues that we have. That is on our list of places to do enforcement. So I've done it there. We actually had a saturation there about 2, 3 weeks ago now. It's been a bit. But we know that people speed right there. And I know exactly what he's talking about. So yes, you will see some increased amount of officers doing speed enforcement there.
Great. It looks like Alice was asking about Latigo and Rice as well. We already touched on that. Show Blue is just here to show support. Karina says, former explorer here. Thanks for all the guidance in the program. Karina Gonzalez. I don't know if she was one of your explorers at that time.
All right. See? You're welcome.
Elmer says, is it legal to have loud pops on your exhaust?
Loud pops. I think they're probably referring to like the popping sound maybe when you take off your muffler. Which actually is kind of a common thing that we're experiencing right now. They call it a muffler delete. And if you talk about speeding's obviously one of the top complaints we got, but a lot of quality of life issues are related to loud vehicles. What we're finding is a lot of people are doing muffler deletes just to make their cars sound more aggressive, louder, as if it has a bigger engine. And when they do that, they take away the mechanism to reduce the noise that the car is making. Sometimes you hear that popping sound that will come from a car, but it's because their exhaust system's messed up.
And so that's not to vehicle code, correct?
That's not the code. You're right.
All right, we're just about at 6 o'clock, so we'll take one more question here. And Arturo asks, why doesn't the city install yellow crossing lights specifically for the use of crossing guards, like the crossing lights in front of St. Anthony Church on C Street and near the Centerpoint Mall?
I think the city, that's their goal because I've seen more and more of those lights pop up. If you look at Oxnard Boulevard and I believe it's Ash, they have the same mechanism there. Those are highly effective because it alerts drivers that someone's crossing. So especially at night, they become illuminated lights, and you press the button as a pedestrian. You just wait for cars to stop, and then you can walk. So I know that's one of the goals of the city is to increase pedestrian safety, and that's one of the mechanisms that we use.
Yeah, and there is a city traffic engineer, correct? It's involved in the police department, but in city planning more in just addresses things like that.
Absolutely, and we work closely with them, but definitely our recommendations go to the traffic engineer, and then they ultimately will make the decision whether or not to implement it.
Very cool. I said one more, but I do have one more from Julie who asks, can you just address the school bus stopping rules? People who don't stop when the school buses are stopped with the lights flashing.
That's actually great. And I think, Paul, we send out a video recently with the school bus.
We
Um,
did, yeah.
it's a lot easier to see it because there are kind of little details about it. But basically, if you're in the roadway, traveling on the roadway, and let's say it's you got a northbound lane and a southbound lane. If a school bus comes and stops and it turns on the red light and there's no center median distinguishing those two lanes, both sides of traffic needs to stop. Obviously, we just again going back to children and making sure that they're safe. We don't want them crossing over lanes to try to get to the other side. So if you're behind a school bus and that stop sign comes out and the red lights start to flash, you got to stop. For a better illustration, I would recommend watching that video because there are other circumstances that would allow you to pass, but it's a lot easier to watch it than to speak about it.
And you can, of course, find that video on our social media accounts, Facebook, Instagram, sometimes even Twitter too. But before I'm going to let Senior Officer Diaz go here. But before I do, we always end these Q&As with rapid fire questions to just throw at you and catch you off guard. Oh, he's ready though. All right. Senior Officer Joe Diaz, your first car you ever owned was?
1991 Toyota Celica.
What color?
Sky blue.
Nice. What was the first concert you went to?
Coachella, 2006. Watching Daft Punk, Block Party.
Nice. Favorite concert venue?
Ooh. I have to go back to Coachella. Multiple stages.
Not too hot.
Yeah, it's hot.
Favorite food to order out?
Ooh, lasagna. Scoochies, Santa Barbara.
Favorite food to make at home?
Steak.
A few of your top 10 bands?
Foo Fighters, Daft Punk. I'll even throw a little Tiesto in there. Why not?
Nice. What are a few of your favorite movies?
Gladiator. Man, my girls got me onto Trolls. I'll throw that on there.
Gladiator and Trolls. That is a spectrum right there. Are you not entertained?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Senior Officer Diaz, for joining us. And if anybody has any questions, can they email you?
Yeah, absolutely. Jose.diaz@oxnardpd.org. Again, I'm very receptive. Please send me an email and I'll help you out if you have a question.
Well, thank you so much. And before I say goodnight to everybody, I do want to show you at home how to find out who your neighborhood police team officer is in your neighborhood. Our neighborhood policing team are officers who are dedicated to the very specific area of town to address quality of life issues, ongoing issues that patrol might not necessarily be able to roll up on if you call them at any certain time, but things that, an officer who really focuses on your neighborhood can address. And this is our website, oxnardpd.org. Right at the top here is the About tab. Click on that and go to Police Beat Map. It's the third one down there, and it shows you the city of Oxnard and what beat you live in. And according to that beat, there is contact information for your neighborhood policing team officer, emails, and direct phone numbers. So once again, these are for quality of life issues that are ongoing, not necessarily of course, not an emergency or anything that a patrol officer needs to come out to right away, but something that's ongoing that needs to be addressed. Those are your beat officers right there. So thanks once again, everybody, for joining us. Thanks once again to my guest, and have a great night, everybody. Stay safe out there.
Good night.